All right, so this is how to build a physique that withstands chaos in life. This is how you make anti-fragile gains. Basically, how to build a physique that actually lasts. Because let's face it, all of us live very busy lives. Not everything is perfect all the time. Why do some people craft a permanent physique while some craft a physique that only lasts for a couple seasons? So, one of the qualities that people always comment on about my physique is I never fluctuate. What I've built physically and performance wise, it stays. Even when I'm working 70 plus hours a week and miss a few workouts, right? If you guys follow me on IG, you guys know that I'm very busy. I don't have time to just be in the gym 7 days a week, right? There's days where I train people for countless hours. I'm going to miss a couple workouts. My physique still stays, right? Even when nutrition isn't perfect or I'm on vacation, right? You guys see me travel before. I pig out. I post my eats all the time. My physique still stays. And even when I used to drink on the weekends, right? Obviously, I'm not advocating for this, but there was a point in time where, I used to drink on the weekends, 10 drinks a weekend. My physique still stayed. And the most recent example of this is after knee surgery. I didn't have hard training for 6 weeks. I still remain. My physique is life resistant. And I think this is a very slept on quality that people in fitness, for some reason, they don't really talk about. People are just concerned about, I'm concerned about getting 15 pounds of muscle in 3 months. The hard part is keeping it. The hard part is actually being able to live life to the fullest, be someone that is well versed in other areas, right? Business, relationships, right? While still maintaining that fitness. And really the main thing about this video is, why is it that some people train hard for a season, take a little time off, and suddenly look like a completely different person? Why do some people change with the seasons while others remain solid as stone? And the answer is pretty simple. I've never seen this information presented before on the internet, so I'm going to break these concepts down so you can be effortlessly jacked and stay that way while living life to its fullest. So before I even get into anything, this is the type of frame of mind you have to understand for you to even understand this presentation. Okay, so I'm going to give this analogy here, and it's about a tower, the tower analogy. Think of your physique as a tower made of bricks, okay? And then you're going to think of life, right? All the stress, all the chaos, the unpredictability, the injury. All of that is wind. All of that is the elements, right? Hail, rain, whatever you call it. The truth of the matter is, most people build a poor tower. They build a poor physique. They build a poor base. When strong winds come, the structure, which is their physique, it collapses. The people with the quote-unquote permanent physiques, they built something different. They laid every brick down intentionally, starting from the ground up. They interlocked the structure. They were smart. They made it geometrically sound, right? They built width before height. And no matter what winds come, the structure is still going to hold, right? And a prime example of this right here is the Great Pyramid of Giza. Put that in the left there, right? It's a very solid structure. It has a good foundation. It's geometrically sound. And, it's been around for thousands of years. Sure, wind and time chipped away at the surface, right? But the point is the structure still remains after thousands of years. Why? Because the foundation, the width, and the structure. And to the right, I put a picture of literally a straw tower. This is how most people build their physiques. They build something, they try to, I'm trying to put on 15 pounds of muscle as fast as I can. I'm trying to rush it. They pay no attention to the width, the structure, the overall validity of the tower. And this is what I want you to put in your mind before I present these ideas for you. So why doesn't everyone build this way? Why doesn't everyone build a pyramid? Why doesn't everyone build a solid foundation with their health and fitness? It's the same reason that most civilizations didn't build pyramids. The two reasons: number one, it takes time and discipline. Most people are impatient. Most people would rather lose 30 pounds in 1 month and feel that initial rush of dopamine and not be able to keep that body for long term than actually build a solid foundation that's going to serve them for years to come and actually, set them on the right path. And number two, it takes knowledge. You need to know how to build correctly, right? The guys that built the pyramids, they had some idea. They obviously had a blueprint. They obviously had a plan, and they actually understood geometry and how to actually, cultivate such a structure. And it's the same thing with your physique. You need to know how to actually build a solid foundation with your physique so that you can maintain this physique for life. So building correctly takes longer in the short term, but it's easier to keep in the long term. So my point is, the people that have these permanent physiques, how you actually build a physique that can withstand chaos, withstand life, is you build a solid foundation. So all the bullshit, all the unpredictability doesn't really faze you, and you maintain that state effortlessly. Here are the 2 fragile fitness mistakes that prevent people from achieving that quote-unquote permanent physique. Mistake number 1 is simply training with no structure, okay? The truth of the matter is, most people quote-unquote work out, and that is a good place to start. That is actually very beneficial for the average American, right? And they do just enough to look okay and avoid major health issues. But most men never truly build anything. They don't really train. Training is actually building something with a plan in mind, with an idea in mind. Most men, their goal when they hit a workout is, I burned this many calories. But there's no underlying goal and underlying culmination of specific physical qualities that builds up to something. So that's probably the number 1 mistake. Mistake number 2 is chasing height before base. So if the builders of the Great Pyramids of Giza, they cared about how tall the pyramid could be before they even built that wide ass base, it would not last today, right? You can't just start trying to stack bricks vertically as high as you can without paying attention to that foundation. And this is what a lot of people lack, is they just go to the gym, they try to lift as much as they can, try to gain as much muscle as they can, but they pay no attention to that base, to that foundation. They chase 1 rep maxes, they chase peaks, but they don't chase the base. They don't know how to build that, how to lay that foundation down. They don't know how to do it. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to build an unwavering base of physicality so that A, you can eventually reach great heights, because like we said before, to eventually reach great heights and maintain that, you need a solid and wide foundation. B, your physique and performance become life resistant and anti-fragile. You actually keep these gains and keep these performance boosts for life. And C, your progress stops fluctuating. You're no longer that guy that, gains a little fat for the winter. And this is how you build a body that doesn't fall apart when life hits. Because it's easy to just, anyone can build a body when, going 7 days a week, when nutrition is perfect, when you're measuring everything out with the scale. But that's not the real flex. The real flex is being able to be jacked, have this body, but at the same time attack life and have all these other things that you're working on and get the most out of life while not letting physical health fall along the wayside. So before I get into how to actually maintain that physique and allow it to be chaos and life resistant, I first have to explain the opposite. What is the real reason why people's physiques fade? What's the real reason why people lose muscle, right? When people say holding muscle, they usually think, okay, if I eat enough calories, I get enough protein in, my size is going to stay. And that is a fatal misconception that you have to get rid of. You have to understand, this is why some people, they maintain their physique, some people lose it. You don't maintain muscle by feeding it. You maintain muscle by giving it a reason to exist. Put that in your brain. Muscle is only kept when it is used, demanded, and justified. Anybody can gain muscle in their newbie gym phase when the body is new to weight training, but how you continue to build muscle after that phase, and the most importantly, keep all that muscle that you build after that phase, is by signaling to your body time and time again that muscle is quote unquote worth keeping. And I feel like nobody really talks about this relationship between, having lasting permanent muscle and this signaling to your body that it's important. The fact of the matter is, muscle is a very expensive tissue to maintain. So you have to tell your body, hey, this muscle is actually useful. Let's keep it around to justify it. It seems like common sense, but not many people understand this. So essentially, the more you signal to your body that muscle is worth keeping, the more muscle you're going to maintain. And that's pretty much in a nutshell how you keep that physique permanently, is you keep signaling to your body that muscle is important. It's justified. The guys that have permanent physiques have signaled to their body that muscle is an integrated and useful part of their body, not just some cool accessory to have. Okay? That's the key part. Muscle isn't just something that makes you look good. If you think like that, think about it. Why would the body keep an accessory if it takes up so much resources to keep around? Why would it keep that if it's not an actual functional part of your life, if it's not integrated into how you move, right? That's how you build permanent muscle. You give it a reason to exist. To illustrate my point even further, I think this is probably the best example that just encapsulates this. Do you guys ever notice, if you guys see an athlete, right? You guys ever notice how athletes that gain their muscle as a byproduct of function usually have a more consistent physique year round? They go through less dips and phases than that gym bro who just wants to, I'm just trying to feel the pump and gain muscle just because it looks good, just for aesthetics. This is a very, it's an out there take, but I think it illustrates my point very clearly. One, the athlete gained muscle in the pursuit of real life imposed demands, and the other for vanity. Again, muscle is an expensive tissue and it has to be justified in order to last. Which one of these examples do you think justifies muscle more? The athlete that actually had to build muscle in spite of a goal, in spite of competition, or the gym bro that I'm just trying to feel the pump and I want to get my side delts up? Yes, that's decent, that's great. But if you think about it, there really is no reason for that muscle to exist. It's inherent in like kind of the way of thinking of these two individuals. And if you think about it, the muscles and physiques of athletes is muscle that has also been built with other qualities that they're aiming for. People that just go to the gym and, I'm just trying to put on size. That's the only justification for building muscle. But the athlete, right? They build muscle as a byproduct of chasing strength, of chasing cardio, chasing stronger connective tissue, more function. Muscle is built along with all these other qualities, which makes it a lot more longer lasting. It's not just muscle that lives in a vacuum. When muscle is built with other qualities, it serves a greater purpose than just an accessory. So this type of muscle that serves multiple qualities, that actually has a purpose, will last a lot longer than just muscle that is for vanity, muscle that is just a cool accessory, like a lot of gym bros like to believe it to be. So it's not only about gaining muscle. It's how do I build muscle my body refuses to give up. It's not about how fast you can gain 15 pounds of muscle. It's how do I gain 15 pounds of integrated muscle that my body refuses to give up. The answer isn't more volume, better pumps, better dieting where you track everything. It's building your physique the right way and building the base that makes muscle a biological necessity. And I'm going to detail you that in the future slides here. Next, I'm going to walk you through the exact step organized in order for building that base and why once it's in place, your physique stops fluctuating, life and chaos don't affect it, and you stay consistent year round. And just to give another example, this is me right here. This is after 6 weeks of no hard training, after knee surgery. Most people would put on a couple pounds. Most people would look sloppy. But my physique still stayed because my base was so strong. My base is so strong, nothing really can affect my physique. It would take a year of no working out for it to actually put a dent in my physique because I spent the time building that base. And I'm going to explain exactly how to do that. So what is the base? The base is going to be what they call your work capacity, okay? And I'm going to detail you that. Most men just start going to the gym, right? New Year's resolution, and immediately just try to lift as much weight as possible, gain as much muscle as possible. I'm trying to lose 30 pounds in 30 days. That's not how you build a solid base. That's essentially like if I were to give you bricks to build a pyramid or build a structure, you're just stacking the bricks vertically. I'm just trying to build as high as I can, as fast as I can. And we all know that how that's going to last. Anytime some disturbance comes your way, it's going to fall down and you're going to lose that physique. You have to build the bottom base. You build the bottom base layer by developing work capacity. And I don't see many fitness guys on YouTube talk about this, but it's such an integral part in building a solid physique. Work capacity is how much work your body can tolerate. It's not how much weight you can do. It's not how jacked you look. It's simply how much work can your body tolerate and recover from. Everybody has a limit. Okay? Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, when he's training chest 2 times a day, high ass work capacity. You just starting in the gym, okay, I hit a lift, I'm sore, you have low work capacity. How much work you are able to do in a given time period and benefit from it without tapping out. And to this concept of work capacity, how much your body can take, there's 2 parts of that. There's 2 aspects to that definition. There's how much can my nervous system take, right? You guys know when you guys exercise, when you guys lift, when you guys do intense exercise, it takes a toll on your nervous system as well. So it's 2-sided. It's both how much can your nervous system take and how much can your physical body take, right? Because obviously if you bench press a lot, right, there's only so much your shoulders and your pecs can handle, right? So work capacity is how much work can your body tolerate and recover from. And there's 2 aspects to it. How much can your nervous system tolerate? And how much stress can your physical body tolerate? There's 2 parts of it. Now, it's not what you can do on your best day. It's not a single PR. It's not a hype moment. And these things are what's in gym bros' minds all the time that prevent them from actually building a solid base. It's what you can repeat week after week without burning out, breaking down, or needing long layoffs. It's how much you can take from a grand scheme level. It's not about one effort. It's about output over time. If you want to develop a physique for life, you have to keep this in mind, and this should be the first thing that you build up because it's going to serve as your base layer. So why is it important? Because to build your dream physique and make it permanent, the structure underneath has to be capable of holding it. This includes, right, the connective tissue surrounding the muscle. For you to be jacked, for you to have all this muscle everywhere, it's not just muscle, like your bones, your tendons, your ligaments, they have to be able to support that. Or you see the body's going to be like, okay, well, I have all this muscle, but I have no way of supporting it. Muscle's a very expensive tissue. Why the fuck would I retain it? And building the general work capacity of the body as a whole, the nervous system aspect. If your nervous system is like, okay, I'm not used to taking all this stress and I have all these muscles that if I were to exert them at full power, it would be too much stress for the whole body. Why the fuck would I retain muscle? And a good way to think about this is like a computer analogy, right? So I'm not really based in computers. I know I have a lot of like software guys that watch this, so you probably know better than me. This might not even be accurate, but to effectively run a program, right, the computer must have the requisite pieces to actually run a program. It must have the requisite hardware, right? It has to be physically able to run the program. So it has to have the correct parts, the correct computing things to actually run the program. This is the connective tissue structure. This is like does your body have the physical material to actually run the program? And then the software, the general body work capacity, how much stress your nervous system can take, right? It's software and hardware. It's how much your nervous system can take and how much your body can take. That's what work capacity is on a simple level. And only focusing on physique without focusing on the system, on how much stress your overall body can take, your nervous system can take, and how much your connective tissues can take is asking for a regression over time. Okay? Muscle is not just an accessory that you add for aesthetics, no matter what all of these influencers tell you. Oh, look, yeah, muscle is great to have, but it's not only an accessory. It's a high cost tissue that your body only keeps when your system, the tissue surrounding the muscle, and your recovery capacity underneath can justify it. That's how you got to start thinking about it. You have to have the requisite hardware and the software to be able to handle that physique. So if you gained muscle in the past but lost it relatively quickly, right? You all went through that phase where, oh, I was looking good for a summer and then you lost it. You trained to gain muscle, but you didn't build the structure required to maintain it or fully integrate it into your body. When stress, life, and imperfect situations showed up, the muscle you built had no support and it was shed easily. The muscle was a temporary, not structural, not an integrated part of you. So the first aspect, like I said, what we're going to talk about is the nervous system capacity. How much training stress can you tolerate in your nervous system? without excess fatigue, chronic soreness, sleep disruption, hormonal suppression, or central nervous system burnout. A high nervous system work capacity is going to help you craft your physique for years to come and never plateau, because progress, especially as you keep progressing, it's going to require more volume, more intensity, more frequency the higher you go, which are all based on your nervous system's work capacity. If your nervous system work capacity is low, there's going to be a point where you can't accumulate enough quality reps for a meaningful period of time. You can't recover fast enough between sessions. You're going to stall, regress, or get these fragile gains, or where you lose muscle because it inherently has low work capacity and hence nothing to justify its existence. No work capacity will passively kill your physique. A high work capacity is even more important as you progress past your newbie gains to get an elite physique and maintain it effortlessly. Elite work capacity means you're going to be able to push more weekly hard sets, more progress, faster recovery. You're going to be able to work out more frequently, better training density. Your session's just going to hit more, right? Better pumps. Better tolerance for carbs and calories because your body has adapted to someone that is able to use carbs because you have proven to yourself that you push hard frequently. Basically, and this is a very slept on portion of having a high work capacity. A lot of people eat these carbs to get all fat. Me, I'll be eating carbs all day. And I'm able to use a diverse array. I can use dessert for fuel, because my body has adapted over time, because I've proven to myself that I push myself. I actually go hard, right? I have a high work capacity. I burn a lot of carbs. So I've proven to my body that I did that. So now when I eat carbs, I can easily convert all these carbs that normal people really wouldn't use as energy to energy. So you can eat more carbs and you can stay leaner. That's why you see all these advanced lifters, they eat more, they train more, and they stay leaner. They eat all these things. They didn't get lucky. They earned this ability by first cultivating a high nervous system work capacity. So probably the most important thing that a high work capacity does is its relationship to how it affects stress. Work capacity literally controls your stress response. And that might not seem like a big deal, but I'm telling you it is. Obviously, stress is one of the most integral parts of human life. It is the cause of cancer, right? Too much stress literally leads to cancer. But also it's the cause of adaptation, like muscle mass. You need stress to gain muscle. The poison is not in stress itself, but the dosage and the response. When you have a high work capacity, you control that response and make stress work for you rather than against you. This healthy relationship to stress will passively work in your favor and make it not only easier to achieve your dream physique, but also maintain it for life. And you're going to see two pictures here. I'm sure you've seen that meme. The skinny fat guy to the left that's always crying, that's always enraged, right? Low work capacity. They have low stress tolerance because their nervous system can't take much and they're easily dysregulated. The guy on the right, the Chad, high work capacity, high stress tolerance, optimal endocrine setting, right? Basically, when shit gets tough, it doesn't inhibit his testosterone and all these hormones. It actually fuels it. So a little bit more about how work capacity affects stress. A low work capacity equals a high stress response. Someone with a low work capacity could do the same activity that I do, but for him, it causes a very high stress response. For me, it's an optimal stress response. And that differentiation is key. If training or life exceeds what you can tolerate and you have a low work capacity, basically cortisol is going to stay elevated, thyroid output drops, testosterone signaling blunts, and appetite and recovery dysregulate. And this is why some people are skinny fat. They can't make any progress no matter how hard they get their nutrition right or how hard they get their program right, because the body's overall stress response, it's dysregulated. They're too stressed. And this takes you out of that anabolic state. Okay, when you are too stressed out and in a catabolic state, which is the opposite of an anabolic state, your body's going to be inefficient with energy and you're going to be in a state of constant breakdown, right? Your body's thinking, oh, we can't afford this tissue. So it sheds muscle when, you have breaks in workout, when you have minor phases where you're not eating the way you should, when work is going to stress you out, when you have these days where you don't sleep well. That's why their physique easily fades. A high work capacity does the opposite. When your system is robust, cortisol is going to spike acutely but not chronically. And cortisol is needed for that adaptation to occur, right? Testosterone signaling is still going to be intact, and your bodily systems are just going to be more optimal. So having a high work capacity not only affects, right, the quality of your workout, how hard you can push in your workout, but it literally affects how you respond to stress. And this is probably the most important thing that leads to people having that permanent physique. This is how you build a robust nervous system work capacity. You just have to get used to doing more. And I always like to frame it like this starts with things outside the gym, okay? Take on more responsibility at work and in the house. Do more activities, go out to more places, just do more within the day. Do more physical things, right? And a good example, when I was in college, I would walk to the grocery store. It'd be a 2-mile walk. I would carry all the groceries, right, in my hands. I would use a basket while shopping. This all counts. Stand on the bus, stand on the subway, walk more. Honestly, you just got to do more. If you are in your 20s or 30s or even 40s, you are way more capable than you deem, especially in this day and age. Work a manual labor job, take up another hobby, etc. Then after you're doing more in your life, in the gym, you want to add more frequency. Just train more. Take up a movement practice or a sport. Nothing will increase your work capacity like a movement practice or a sport that requires you to actually be there consistently to get good at something. Up the volume and intensity steadily. Do more activities that make you work continuously, like sled drags, carries, right, for long periods of time, hiking, right? If the software capacity, the nervous system capacity, can't handle the physique that you want, then the body will just down-regulate. Okay, now we're going to move on how to build up that hardware side of work capacity. The hardware side of work capacity is basically your tissue tolerance. Work capacity is not only the operating ability of your body as a whole, but the overall tissue tolerance of your body. Work capacity, again, is how much the body can take. This includes how much stress your nervous system can take, the software side, but also how much the physical can take, because after all, your work capacity will be limited by the tolerance of your tissues collectively, and that's the hardware side. So tissue tolerance is basically your body and connective tissues tolerance to training stress. Tissue tolerance is how much load your tendons, your fascia, your joint capsules, ligaments, muscles, etc. can tolerate repeatedly, not only just once. And to illustrate this is an example about, people that make all this fast progress when they go to the gym. This is why fast progress is often an illusion, right? The first thing people tend to focus on is muscle, right? I want to build muscle. I'm trying to do these curls. And that's a great starting point, but we have to focus on the other aspects of your tissues at the same time if we want to build true tissue tolerance and a real foundation of work capacity. The truth is, muscle adapts faster than connective tissue. Most of the time, connective tissue is neglected because it's much slower to grow, right? And it's less straightforward to build, right? It's a different process trying to get strong joints, strong tendons, right? Strong ligaments than just building muscle. Building muscle is relatively straightforward. It doesn't operate under the same laws, right? So that's why a slow, gradual physique often lasts longer than one built quickly, right? You notice that people that kind of had a slower come up, it often lasts longer than someone that just, has this meteoric rise, because there was enough time and exposure for all that connective tissue to adapt alongside the muscle, right? Signaling to the body that the prerequisites for muscle are actually there. When connective tissue lags behind because the physique was built faster than the strength, the load capacity, and the durability requisite for it, pain's going to show up, which is going to cause you to not train anymore. Volume's going to drop over time. Your load's going to drop, and the consistency is going to break. And this brings me to the point of the difference between temporary muscle and structural muscle that lasts a lifetime. Muscle gained faster than your system adapts is temporary muscle. It's also muscle that isn't really backed by the matching strength and connective tissue strength. It's not authentic, hence why it will not last, because the body doesn't have the biological signal for its existence. If you have muscle, but then you don't have any of the other requisite parts, your body's not going to recognize it as an integrated part of you. They didn't lose muscle because calories drop. They lost muscle because first of all, the nervous system work capacity wasn't there. And second, the tissue tolerance was low and hence signaled to the body that these muscles were just an accessory. They didn't match the rest of your body and hence they were inefficient to keep. And this is the exact reason why some people have that fake show muscle versus real go muscle. And for you to actually keep all your physique for a lifetime, you must prioritize for having muscle that can go, that really accounts for something. And I'm going to give you an example right here. In wrestling, right? Or any weight class sport, right? You take me, for example, if I were to compete in wrestling, I'll be a natural 165 pounder. Okay, that's just kind of how I'm built. Sure, I could bulk up and wrestle 175, 190, even 215. I got a big frame and I might do okay. But I want you to think about this. But compared to someone who actually cuts to 215 and is a true 215 pounder, like whose bones are bigger, whose connective tissue is actually built for that body weight, who's actually spent a lifetime in that frame, there's going to be no competition physically between me and someone that is a true 215 pounder. So from this example, it's clear like there's a hard limit to how much you can build in a functional sense because, right, it's not just muscle. It's not like you just bulk up. It's everything else. And everything else in terms of connective tissue, it takes a little bit more time than muscle. In this example, the added muscle isn't truly authentic. It's an accessory. Muscle only becomes authentic when it's integrated into the body through supporting work capacity and tissue tolerance. So this is how you build physical work capacity or the hardware to support that physique. How do you build tissue tolerance? You have to build wide before you build tall. This is the most important aspect. So you can eventually build tall and wide, okay? The first is sub-maximal volume. There's guys that 1 rep max every session and that's literally taking away from their development. No rep maxes. Train at loads that are challenging but repeatable. Instead of peaking and chasing these high maxes, sub-maximal loads are going to provide enough stimulus while allowing repeated exposure over long periods of time to actually build tissue. All things considered, it provides the most mechanical tension over time. The man that never peaks and just keeps working at his baseline is going to eventually pass the person that just always chases a high number. Number 2 is train through a diverse range of motion. You want to include long ranges of motion when you're going all the way down, as well as short ranges of motion. Each one of these things will develop different aspects, right? A lot of these short range movements are going to be really good for your tendons. A lot of these long range movements are going to be great for, your strength of muscle at length, your ligaments, right? You might sacrifice numbers by not cheating range of motion and using lighter weight, but this places meaningful load on the ligaments, tendons, and joints and builds an even strength profile and even tissue tolerance profile across your whole body and across all positions. And third, balance strength through movement variety. So you don't want to just specialize in 1 or 2 or 3 lifts, okay? You want to include everything. Training across multiple planes and patterns, right? It might slow how fast you can load. If you're doing a bunch of different movements, you're not going to be progressing in numbers as fast as if you're just focused on one lift. But this variety in your training is going to build an all-around strength profile that removes weak links and ensures your frame is fully developed. And lastly, you want to include a variety of different muscle contraction. Expose tissue to eccentric training, so where you're really focusing on that way down, on the stretch of the muscle. You want to do training that focuses on the concentric, that contraction part, isometrics, and fast loading, things like stretch shortening cycles, rapid loading. Okay, exposing your body to different contractions is going to stress tissue differently, and broad exposure is what's going to build durability, resilience, and tissue tolerance over time. So I know that was a lot of information, but this is how you actually cultivate a broad foundation, and this is the long-term play. When you build general work capacity of your body's systems and develop your physical frame by building tissue tolerance, you build an unshakable base that allows you to not only achieve an elite physique, but maintain it effortlessly. Sure, it's going to take a little longer, but this is actually how you build a dependable body, one that stays resilient even when the conditions aren't optimal. One that allows you to live life at its fullest. So invest the time to actually build a foundation. So if there's any questions that you guys have regarding this process, go ahead and shoot me a comment or shoot me a DM on Instagram. If you're someone that actually wanted specialized help and you want me to hold your hand through this whole process in building that wide base of work capacity, tissue tolerance, go ahead and book a call in the description. We can talk about how this applies to your specific life and your situation, and we can develop a game plan on how you can build that base so you can develop a permanent physique.